Feeling lost doesn't mean you're broken. It means your current map no longer matches your inner terrain. That's not failure. That's reality catching up to you. Growth pulls you into unfamiliar ground. Old goals don't excite you, routines feel hollow, and the life you built starts to feel like someone else's. It's disorienting. But it's also the beginning of something deeper. You wake up and can't find a reason to care. The things that used to motivate you feel distant. You second-guess every choice you made. The job, the relationships, even who you've become. There's a quiet panic underneath it all, like you're drifting but can't remember where you were headed in the first place. Most people numb it, distract it, call it burnout or blame circumstances. But that's not the real problem. This is the moment when your inner system is asking for an update. The map you've been using, built from past values, old wounds, outdated beliefs, no longer fits the person you're becoming. That friction you feel, it's not weakness. It's the signal to reset, not escape. But most people run from it, because rebuilding requires tearing down what no longer works, and that's terrifying. Here's the truth. No one finds clarity without first facing confusion. The fog isn't the end, it's the threshold. If you're ready to stop drifting and start rebuilding your mind from the inside out, keep reading. This isn't about motivation. It's about alignment, truth, and finally facing yourself. When you feel lost, one of the most dangerous traps is waiting. Waiting for clarity, waiting for motivation, waiting for purpose to just appear. It won't. Sitting in your head, overanalyzing every thought, only deepens the fog. Clarity is not something you find while standing still. It's something that reveals itself through motion, small, intentional actions that anchor you when everything else feels like it's falling apart. Most people want to feel inspired before they act. That's backwards. You don't need inspiration. You need rhythm. Stability, structure, purpose doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing, especially when you feel unmotivated. The most honest, grounded thing you can do in the chaos is stop looking for some grand meaning and start rebuilding basic order in your day. So start simple. Wake up at the same time each day. No, it won't fix everything, but it sends a clear message to your system. We are choosing order. That single act, repeated, becomes a psychological anchor. When your days blur together and your mind drifts, a consistent wake-up time gives you a foothold. From there, you start stacking. Clean your space. External mess feeds internal noise. You're not scrubbing your kitchen for aesthetic Instagram vibes. You're taking back control of something small, and that matters when everything feels out of reach. Order on the outside creates space for calm on the inside. That's not a cliche. It's neurology. Eat real food. Move your body. Go for a walk. These aren't lifestyle hacks. They're biochemical interventions. Your mind isn't separate from your body, and when your routines are collapsing, stabilizing your physiology is non-negotiable. Eat, hydrate, breathe, move. These are your non-negotiables, not because they're exciting, but because they're necessary. Then journal 1 page, not to be profound or poetic, but to process. Get your thoughts out of your head where they're swirling and put them on paper where they can be seen, sorted, and questioned. This clears the fog. Not immediately, but gradually, like wiping a mirror every morning until your reflection comes back into view. You don't build your way out of confusion through force. You build it through rhythm, daily structure, repeated small acts that remind your nervous system, I'm not helpless. I'm not floating. When your world feels chaotic, don't chase purpose. Create structure. The purpose will emerge, but only after the ground stops shaking. Most people don't feel lost because they failed. They feel lost because they've been following a script that was never truly theirs. The rules were handed to you early. Get good grades, go to college, land a stable job, find a partner, buy a house, post a happy life online. Check the boxes, and you're supposed to feel complete. But what happens when you follow the rules and still feel empty? That emptiness isn't failure. It's your soul waking up. It's your deeper self rejecting a life that was built around external validation instead of internal truth. You played the game right, and now you're left wondering why the reward feels hollow. That's not weakness, that's the beginning of awakening. But most people panic here. They assume something's wrong with them, not the script they were handed. This is the moment to stop and ask harder questions. Not shallow, motivational fluff, but deep, uncomfortable ones. What do I actually value that society ignores or devalues? What goals have I inherited without ever questioning if they're mine? Who am I when I'm not performing for approval or chasing the next milestone? These questions aren't easy. They don't come with tidy answers, but they're necessary if you want to stop drifting and start living honestly. The truth is, most people build a life trying to impress others, parents, peers, strangers on the internet, and call it success. But when you strip away the pressure to be impressive, what's left? Who are you when no one's watching? That's where identity is forged. Not in performance, but in presence. Not in applause, but in solitude. You'll never feel clear until you stop lying to yourself about what matters. If you're chasing things you never consciously chose, you'll always feel disconnected. That disconnection isn't random, it's feedback. Your inner self is trying to get your attention, telling you, this path isn't mine. Most people silence that voice with more achievement. Don't let yourself feel lost. That's not the end, that's the threshold. The moment when the old map disintegrates and you have a chance to draw your own. Not based on pressure, not based on image, but based on truth. And truth starts where the performance ends. Being lost isn't weakness. It's a rebellion, a refusal to keep pretending, a doorway into becoming someone real. But you have to stop running and start questioning. Not everything you were taught to want is worth having. When life feels like it's falling apart, your first instinct is to run, to escape the silence, to drown out the ache with noise, scrolling, substances, or shallow distractions. But here's the truth you've been avoiding. The emptiness, the fear, the confusion, they're not the enemy. They're the doorway. If you keep running from them, you'll stay stuck in the same fog, forever chasing clarity that never arrives. Sit in the silence. Let the discomfort rise. Stop trying to fix it. Stop trying to slap positive thinking on it. Real answers don't come when you're distracted. They come when you finally stop numbing and allow yourself to feel what's been festering underneath for years, maybe even decades. That ache in your chest, that pressure in your gut, that sense of meaninglessness, that's not dysfunction. That's suppressed truth knocking to get out. Most people avoid this step their whole lives. They confuse numbing with coping. They think productivity is healing. So they keep themselves busy, scrolling, working, chasing goals, anything to avoid being still with themselves. But healing doesn't happen through motion alone. It happens through feeling. Raw, unfiltered emotion. No performance. No escape. Just truth. You want clarity? Then let yourself break. Let the tears come. Let the grief surface for the life you thought you wanted, for the time you lost chasing approval, for the pain you buried to survive. This isn't self-indulgence. It's purification. When you stop resisting the breakdown, you create space for the rebuild. There is no shortcut around this process. The only way out is through the loneliness, through the fear, through the hopelessness. Not because you're broken, but because there are parts of you that have never been seen, felt, or heard, and they're demanding your attention now. Avoiding them keeps you fragmented. Facing them is how you become whole. Letting yourself feel isn't weakness. It's strength in its rawest form. Anyone can distract themselves. It takes courage to sit in your own darkness and not flinch, to let the emotions rise without running, to feel them fully and still remain present. That's the kind of inner strength no hack or habit can replace. So stop trying to skip this part. If you're in the dark, be in it fully. That's where the shift begins. Not when you figure everything out, but when you finally stop avoiding what's already inside you. Feel it. Let it burn. Let it clean you out. That's how you begin. Again? When everything feels foggy, the worst thing you can do is try to redesign your entire life in one sitting. Vision boards, 10-year plans, endless journaling about your dream self. It all becomes mental masturbation if it's not grounded in reality. You don't need a fantasy. You need traction. Not sweeping change, but gritty, honest steps that move you forward 1 inch at a time. Start with this. What's one habit you can build this week that your future self will thank you for? Not something trendy or impressive, something real. Maybe it's waking up at a consistent time. Maybe it's drinking water before coffee. Maybe it's deleting one toxic app or finally booking that therapy session. The size doesn't matter. The honesty does. Now ask yourself, what conversation have I been avoiding? With someone else or with yourself? The truth you're too afraid to say out loud is the one running your life from the shadows. Naming it is the beginning of freedom. You don't need to solve everything overnight, but you do need to stop lying to yourself about what needs to be faced. Tiny doesn't mean weak. Tiny means doable. Tiny means you actually follow through, and that creates momentum. Don't underestimate the power of one brutally honest step repeated every day. Most people fail because they overcommit to fantasies and undercommit to action. You don't need more ambition. You need more precision. The fog doesn't lift all at once. It clears in small patches. Every time you show up, every time you act with intention, every time you stop hiding behind, "I don't know what to do," and just do the next hard thing. Waiting for motivation is useless. Build movement with uncomfortable honesty. Set goals that make you nervous because they're real. Not because they're grand, but because they expose the gap between who you've been and who you could be. Goals that hold you accountable. Goals that cut through your patterns. If it doesn't challenge your avoidance, it won't change your life. So forget building the perfect life. Start with building one clear action, then another, then another. That's how clarity is earned, not through thinking, but through doing. The path appears when you move, not before. Whether you realize it or not, you've outgrown the old version of yourself. You've changed the roles you played, the goals you chased, the identity you wore like armor. But here's the catch. Your mind is still trying to make decisions based on that outdated version. That's why nothing fits. That's why you feel disconnected, confused, and misaligned. It's not because you're lost. It's because you haven't stopped to meet who you've become. Feeling lost isn't always a crisis. Sometimes it's an invitation. Your inner world is shifting, evolving, expanding, and it's asking for your attention. This is your soul's way of saying, "I'm still here," but you've stopped checking in. You can't navigate forward if you're using an old compass. And most people never realize they're doing exactly that. So here's your task. Reintroduce yourself to yourself. Literally. Sit down like you're meeting a stranger and ask, "What do I actually enjoy now?" Don't default to past preferences or identities. Listen without judgment. Maybe what used to light you up now leaves you numb. That's not failure, that's evolution. Let the old version die with grace. Next, ask, what drains me? What people, habits, environments pull your energy into the ground? If you don't identify the leaks, you'll stay stuck in burnout and confusion. And equally important, what energizes me? Not in theory, in practice. Track it. Watch for the moments when you feel alive even slightly. That's the compass you're rebuilding from. This process isn't glamorous. It's slow, awkward, and requires deep listening. You'll uncover contradictions, surprises, even grief. Grief for who you no longer are. Let that happen. Let yourself mourn the expired versions of you, but don't try to resurrect them. They were chapters, not the whole story. Stop chasing who you used to be. That version did its job. It got you here. But if you keep trying to recreate an old self just to feel stable, you'll keep resisting the pull of who you're becoming. And that resistance is what keeps you stuck in fog. The clarity you're searching for won't come from going backwards. It lives in your willingness to listen forward. So pause, strip away the noise, and meet yourself, not the version shaped by pressure or past roles, but the one that's emerging underneath all the breakdown. This is identity reconstruction. This is becoming real again. You can't rush it, but you can commit to it. You're not off track. You're not failing at life. You're in a transition, a shedding of everything that no longer fits. The job title, the beliefs, the coping mechanisms, the fake confidence, all of it is falling away because it has to. This isn't destruction. It's reconstruction. You're not falling apart. You're being rebuilt. Feeling lost is not a red flag. It's a signal. It means the old system is dying, so something more honest can emerge. The reason it feels like chaos is because clarity doesn't come cleanly. It comes through friction, through discomfort, doubt, and silence. Most people panic here and try to patch the old life back together. Don't do that. Let it break. Let it breathe. This isn't the end. It's the reset point. A clean slate disguised as a breakdown. But to use it, you have to stop numbing and start listening. That means pause, strip away the distractions. Come back to the basics, your breath, your body, your space, your truth. Not what sounds good, but what actually feels real. Start small. What's one honest step you can take today? Not to fix your life, but to move in alignment with who you're becoming, not who you're trying to please. Do that, then do it again tomorrow. Not because you figured it all out, but because you're finally done lying to yourself. Transformation doesn't come with fireworks. It comes quietly when you stop pretending and start paying attention, when you choose rhythm over chaos, truth over image, depth over speed. That's when the real shift begins. It's not dramatic, but it's real, and it builds. You're not supposed to have all the answers right now. You're supposed to ask better questions. You're supposed to explore, feel, reset, and rebuild from the inside out. That's not weakness. That's the way forward. Because feeling lost is just the first step to becoming someone you've never been before, but always were deep down. Not a new person, a real one. Welcome back.